time was, I want to honor my father. He deserves that. He deserves recognition for what he did to this home. And they no longer own the home when they talk to me. But the fact that that home meant a lot to them, and to his granddaughter who was right there helping him along the way, guiding him, taking him places, and to his wife who was right there also by his side. So this is why programs like this is why exhibits like what we have, Home is Where the Heart Is, voices from within, because this is truly voices. He remembers all what took place in that home, the happy memories, the sad memories.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. My name is Mike Ruiz, Mike Ruiz, and this is my daughter, Michelle Benavides. And I'm here to talk about the work of my father, David Patricio Ruiz Silva. And I'm bringing this picture because that, I think, and I asked Michelle a while ago, I think this is what got me started. And I asked her, and we started the research on my father. Him building this home. And of course, I will mention my father and mother, David and Urbana Mendoza Ruiz. They came to America in the early 1900s, and they married around 1917. They had 10 children, and 3 died in infancy, and 1 died at 15 years old, and 6 of us lived to adulthood. And they moved to the East Third House in 1920. My father got that and moved into the East Third House in 1927, which is at 1407 East Third here in Austin. And then my father bought the house in 1937. In 1938, he began to work on it by renovating it and converting from the old wooden house where we lived to all stone and concrete work.
This is the permit from the Austin History Center that Grandpa got.
That's the permit for that they were asking for from the city. And the Austin American Statement in those years got a hold of this information, and in March of 1939, because one of the reasons is because they were noticing the family, we still lived in a wooden house, and my father was renewing the outer part, and he built a rock house around it. And so they wrote this article, and we have a copy of that. Also, Ripley, believe it or not, from California also got a hold of this, and they wrote an article. I don't have it right offhand, but they wrote it, believe it or not, wrote an article about my father. That home, the house which is being shown, is still sitting strong as can be, still there, and we're very proud of it. And now I will mention about my mother also.
These are 2 different views of the house. This is the side view of the house. with two of the grandchildren. That is a very small David Ruiz and a very small Debbie White. And the side of the house of the host. And this is a very young Mike Ruiz in the arches that great grandpa.
Oh my God, those
Very
ears!
small and cute. Good job, guys. Now, Christmas. That's also grandpa right there. He's also very cute.
And my mother and two.
Dia Chona's kids.
Christmas trees and nativity scenes. My dad would have to go and he brought 3 large cedar trees, Christmas trees, for my mom to decorate. And she made the nativity scene by hand. This was her very unique celebration that she held every year. Her outstanding Christmas celebration with the honor of us reciting the annual rosary and the laying of the baby Jesus in his crib.
That's why we have to do it every year.
And of course, she would have plenty of tamales for all the attendants.
Yeah!
That's for sure. Had a lot of chocolate.
Yeah!
And this was done after our midnight message at Our Lady of Guadalupe Church. Many friends and neighbors look forward to this event every year that my mother put. And my parents were very active at Our Lady of Guadalupe Church. My father belonged to the Sagrado Corazón de Jesús, and my mother was very active in the Guadalupana Society.
This is a picture of sister, their daughter, who was a nun, Sister Guadalupe. Thanks.
And now here I am going to mention some of my father's works, stone works. And one of the first one is St. Peter and St. Paul Catholic Church in Plum, Texas, not far from Austin, east of Austin. Built in 1946. He would stay in Plum during the week and was like camping outside and then come back to Austin on the weekends. And I recall going there to Plum, Texas. It's a large, I thought it was a cathedral, like St. Mary's Cathedral downtown. I thought it was very large, and he redid all that work. Very beautiful. It's in Plum, Texas.
By the Grange.
Yeah, near the bridge. Governor, at that time, Governor Allen Shivers, he hired my dad to construct some rock work fences in front of the mansion he had, and rock gates, and then he plastered his mansion, which is the Peace Mansion. And during the renovation that took place in the 1950s,
Governor Shivers bought the Pease Mansion, which was built in the 1850s, in the 1950s after he left the governorship. And great-grandpa was hired, as Grandpa said, to do all the rock fence and gate and plaster of the house. The Pease Mansion is owned by the state now and is used for foreign dignitaries. When they come to Texas, the governor hosts them there often. It's very beautiful.
and from my understanding,
They haven't even invited us.
I'm aware that he took that, the governor took that and donated that house to the University of Texas.
Next picture.
He was also hired to do all the stone work at the Spanish Village. If you all remember Spanish Village restaurant on Red River. This includes the restaurant and the stone wall surrounding the property.
The property is now Belon's, and that's what it currently looks like. And it's Belon's and 512 Tequila Bar is what the Spanish Village is now. But the facade is all the same. All the rock work is still there that Grandpa did.
I and Michelle went and I went inside and there was a lot of his work in the inside also. I could recognize that. While he was doing this work for the Spanish village, a Mr. Kelly Stevens went and asked him if he could do this work for him there a few blocks down to renovate the German Free School at 507 East Red River. The German school belongs to the German Texans Heritage Society, and it's still there. Michelle and I also went to visit that place. They did the rock wall surrounding the property and the limestone rock work on the actual school building. And I was, like I mentioned, I was able to go, Michelle and I, in 2012, and it was still standing very good.
When Grandpa and I did research on the German Free School, Kelly Stevens did something that most Anglo contractors and owners didn't do, and that was gave Great-Grandpa a lot of credit for his work. Remember the articles we read, Grandpa?
Yes, I have a couple of the articles where they indicated that my father did a very, very splendid and unique work given to them by Mr. Kelly Stevens. And they gave him a lot of praise for that. It's in those articles that they wrote. My father worked at many other places around central Texas, such as Lakeway, Marble Falls, and all the surrounding little towns in the areas, and many others. And my father did not own transportation. However, for most of his jobs or contracts, the owners or the contractors would pick him up at our house and take him to the destinations where he would do the work. And he also sometimes would walk to the jobs if he didn't have a ride. Our next door neighbor was Maximiliano Casares, my uncle, who owned a dump truck and was always there to help my father haul stuff for his jobs.
This picture of Grandpa is actually him working on the Casares house. His Tío Massimo's wife was Maria, and Maria was Grandma Urbana's sister, and they lived next door. And whereas our house, the 1407, was rock, apparently Tia Maria wanted brick, so Grandpa made bricks for her and has a brick house. So that's him working on her home there.
Very neat.
Her children, her two daughters are running around for someone.
My father's wish was to have us boys, actually I remember there was 3 of us because my other older brother died, to have us boys not to work with him, but instead he wanted us to continue education and to give good education, which we all did. And so, to me, my father was not only artistic in his work, he was also an intelligent creator with the stone that he did. This is why I'm acknowledging him as an artistic stonemason. That's what we label. It's in a lot of other
I look like my
In
grandma
fact,
Urbana.
I think they wrote about us
In the Statesman yesterday.
in Private American Statement. They had a good article about us. I, at this time, would want to thank Gloria for giving me the opportunity to talk and acknowledge the work of my father and honor my dead. I also want to thank my wife, Bonnie, because of this research. She was always there. Thank you also to, of course, my grandmother. Michelle
Yeah.
for helping with all the research, which was always easy. It looked easy, but it wasn't on. And it's still going on. We're still looking into other areas. I spoke to that governor's son, Governor Shivers, a few weeks ago, and he called me back because I wanted to ask him, and we will eventually meet with him in person. He's still very active in whatever he does, and because I want for him to take us around the Peace Mansion house so we can take more clear pictures of what my dad did, the plaster work on that, plus the rocks fences that he did in front. So we still have a lot of work to do, Michelle and I.
We do.
And last, of course, I want to thank and introduce my two sisters, Elizabeth Garcia, which is in the Welcome Center, and Lucy Hernandez.
Hello.
And we're all so proud of our dad today. And I thank you, all of you, for coming and listening to my story. And now, if you do have questions, I certainly will be glad to do as much as I can to answer.
Where did your father get the stones for his work?
I'm afraid that's one area that I'm not too familiar. I was very young. I was like 10, 12 years old. But I do recall at times he did take me sometimes with him, and would do minor little rock work or whatever. But as far as that question, he himself, working in this kind of a job with stones, he knew where there were places to go buy them or pick them up. And then I really don't know exactly, but I'm sure they had a lot of different places where you could buy stones.
Didn't Theo Massimo also get stuff from quarries sometimes? They would take the dump truck to get rocks from the quarries. I think that's what you and Grandma have said before, that he would get them, and sometimes he would also make the bricks. Great Grandpa would make bricks.
Austin has, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And another thing, when some of these people, of course, some of them had money, they wanted good work done, they would ask my father to, because they had a lot of stones underneath their acres, and he would get them from there at times. He would take them from there. Go ahead, Juan.
I'm just going to say that Austin has many quarries, and because Austin basically a city around the limestone. You know, it's solid limestone for most of Austin. So there are a lot of quarries, always have been. The capital was built out of limestone, you know, and it's local limestone. So I'm sure he had many sources that we could get stone from. Where did he learn his trade?
He started in Mexico. That's where he got most of his experience. En el estado de Guanajuato.
Pues claro. You see, Austin has the most amazing stone walls, and we have always had the best artisan stonemasons ever from Guanajuato.
In Austin.
And see again. Oh, I congratulate you.
Yes.
Hello. Over here in the front. Hello. Hi, Grandpa. Question. Did great grandpa David ever, I mean, he worked by himself. Did he ever get injured? Did he get workman's comp if he got injured?
Actually, he did not until the very last job where he had to retire because he broke his leg at the German free school. That was his last job there on 10th and Red River. And he did fall and broke his leg. And that was the last job that he had done. Excuse me, but before I forget, I was going to mention the University of Texas, where the horses are, as you all know, we front.
The Mustang statue in front of the Memorial Museum.
And on that research, I'm still looking into. Somehow, it was brought up to my attention, or I'm trying to find out where, and that when they started the foundation, they were going to put all that on the Mustang work, but with the foundation, from some reason or other, I understand my father had something to do with it, contracted on the bottom, just make it maybe just out of rock, get it ready and strong. So, but I'm still, on that one, I'm still searching on it.
I have one.
Gracias por su historia. What was it like to live in a house that another house was being built around it? It sounded like there must have been a lot of crazy things going on.
I am sorry, but like I said, I was very, very young. Very young.
Grandpa was 4 when they did that. He is? Anything?
But nevertheless, while you mentioned that, and that's another reason why in this article that I read, or that I had here, he said, you know, I guess that's why the American statement and the believe it or not, when you look at this, only because here was a man, and what do they call him, dope, or what Mexican?
Mexican has inside dope on building a rock house.
Mexican has inside dope on building that. The reason I'm bringing that up is because I barely remember, but he did, as he was converted into rock, he would always bring all the wooden material and all the stuff through the windows or through the door of the new house. That's how he was able to do that.
Mike, I was around the Elizabeth Day Museum, and they had rock wall all around the building, or it did then. Did your father build that? Because it was very familiar, similar to the Elizabeth Day Museum on 42nd, 43rd Street, off of Duval. It's a museum right now.
Yeah.
But the rock wall looks very familiar to your home.
Well, the only way I can find out is go there personally, and I can spot his work right away. I really can. When I went to Governor Allen Shivers in the front, I saw that and I said, "That's my father's work." So I'll have to go see it. I'll have to go see it and make sure.
Any other questions?
Deal. My grandmother and grandfather built a house. My dad, you, my uncles and my aunts had built a house for us. It's not a stone, but it's just a stone. And it supports us now. And our grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you, dear. Okay.
Any other questions?
So can I do something really quick? I'm recording. I'm gonna come up there and I'm gonna record the crowd, and I'm gonna have everybody who's related to David Edward Butler raise their hands so we can see through the video that we're
But that
sending.
doesn't make the Mac look good.
Oh, well, it's just for family. Okay. Okay. Oh, hi. Hello. So, if you are related to my family, raise your hand. Oh, wow. Mexicans. So we're not going to have another family reunion for a while. Oh, I got y'all over there too. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, there's a lot of y'all here.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I know. Real good.
And we can't hear you.
Yeah. Theo, can you hear me? Yeah. So, who lives in that house now? And have you been back inside the house to see it?
Growing up Maldonados, this families, they used to, in front, almost in front of about a half a block down, they used to have, this certain family used to have, and still have the building where they have a tortilla factory, a corn tortilla factory. And they were right in the corner there. And so that group or that family and another family next door, they got together, I think, whether by marriage or whatever, that they went ahead and purchased the house. And now they're the new owners, Maldonados, I believe. Right?
If I can add also, Samuel Maldonado, they purchased the home back in the 60s. And Samuel Maldonado used to work for the Parks and Recreation and until he retired. And he is now deceased, but his wife still lives there along with their daughter and her children and her son. And so it's a pretty good sized family. And I don't know, I invited them, I went and left them an invitation and got permission so that the statesman could go and take pictures of Mr. Ruiz at the home. Are there any members of the Maldonado home here at this?
Oh, they are?
Yay!
All right.
Yay!
Oh, yeah, Fanny. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize Fanny Maldonado. Well, Paron, right. But they're all related.
Eva is my sister's, she's my niece. Eva is my niece. And my sister, Virginia, Padron Maldonado. She married Maldonado. So Sammy was living in the Ruiz house when he passed, but his wife still lives there.
They're a very nice family.
And then I do remember.
Did you hear that? Someone died in the house.
I still remember.
Yes. As a matter of fact, if I may, which is, when you start doing something, as in this particular case, where I started to do research, got the article, started to do research, and then wound it up on East 3rd Street. Then along comes this article on Fanny, who doesn't live on East 3rd Street at this time. She lives on Garden Street. And so anyway, do you know what that does to somebody that is really into this local history? I was going like, oh my God, do I know what I got here? And it was really amazing. It is amazing. It is so amazing how connect the dots and everything else comes along. I don't know, is Amy Thompson here in the audience today? Amy has been working on trying to get East 3rd Street, the Cesar Chavez neighborhood district or something or other, trying to get East 3rd Street designated as a historic neighborhood district. Yes. They were able to accomplish some, but not all of it. And so anyway, it is, to me, that street, that area should be designated, the whole thing should be designated as historic, because it is. When you listen to Fanny, when you listen to some of these other individuals that have lived on that street, imagine them being small little kids and the circus coming in and walking, the people walking, the workers from the circus walking their animals, the circus animals down East 3rd Street. Can you imagine the cattle drive, the cattle being taken to the slaughterhouse via East 3rd Street? There are no pictures. And that's what I would have loved to have included in this exhibit. And maybe, because the exhibit stays up until October the 14th, maybe, just maybe, we will find one, or two, or three, or more. Because I would love to have pictures of that. But if you can imagine that history, and first, it wasn't where just Mexicanos lived. There were, it was an African-American area. And then later, the Mexican American community started. But right now, we see what has happened to East 3rd Street. And that, to me, is really, just because, it hasn't been that long that I've got involved in getting this history, but to me, it is very sad to see what could very well happen to it. And so we need to do something. We need to work on something there. I don't know how much more time we've got, but we need to do it. Let me get her and then I'll get you, Martha.
I just wondered if you could tell everybody about what you told us for the opening of the exhibit about this being a part of a national exhibit.
A national exhibit?
The permanent exhibit at the Fogg, once the History Center moves to the Fogg Library.
Oh, that was Lori Renteria, and I don't know if that will happen.
Okay.
I'm sure she's going to work towards it. I can't say at this point. That was Lori Renteria.
Okay.
Her remarks. I am, they do different type of exhibits than what we do. Ours are little pictures. Theirs are gigantic pictures. Their format is different. But it is something that, yes, the passing of because as I mentioned, we're not in archives.
Right.
I work for the Austin History Center. I am an archivist also. But the one thing about that is that we did scan the photographs. And so we do have them on computer. Okay. And there's a good possibility that we could make it into an online exhibit. Mm-hmm. And that is possible.
Very neat.
That's possible. That we will do that. So, Martha?
Yes, regarding 3rd Street, I totally agree that to support Amy's efforts and any other efforts. I just wanted to mention that we tried to get a hold of Francis Martinez and Frank, who are 1103 East 3rd, I will never forget. And there's a history there, not as big as the tank farms, but this man, the survey that I was looking at, I did not write down the part where he talks about freight stations, but one of the things they did after this survey, because he promoted taking the freight stations out of downtown, and so there was a policy that moved the passenger station into downtown, but the freight activities to come to East Austin. Does that sound like the usual?
Yeah.
And so Francis and I worked for literally decades to get rid of the scrap yards. You remember that on 3rd? The first thing you could see of East Austin was this 3-story high scrap pile. How many of you remember that?
No, I don't.
Great. Well, let's not forget all these struggles. Francis Martinez was awesomely involved with that, and I know they've moved. We don't know where they moved. Did you get? Oh, they did. But anyway, I wanted to remind you about that because East 3rd and the scrap yards had us for many, many, many decades struggling to get rid of it, and we finally managed to do it.
Thank you.
And Francis and Frank were huge neighborhood champions.
Dude, so weird. How
many bedrooms did you have in that house? Did you have, 8 people living
No one's gonna like this video.
It said 1 bedroom.
1 bedroom? And a living room, kitchen?
And there was a large living room area.
I see. And another question. You noticed, you said that you can see your dad's work. Did he ever mark it, like make his name, or does he have anything?
Not to my knowledge. However, when I went to Plum, Texas, the priest in charge as we went outside and checked, you know how you always notate the engineer, the architect, and all that. And he actually asked me, he said, if you want to, we could put your father's name on the bottom now.
He did sometimes put, at the German free school, they were super excited because there was a little mosaic of the Virgen de Guadalupe, and they were super excited that we could tell them, one, who that was, and two, the Germans are a lovely country, and two, that great-grandpa said, great-grandpa would sometimes put Virgens in things he made, little Virgens, and that was the closest thing he ever did to making
It's like a Catholic Where's Waldo.
Notable and outstanding.
That's so our family.
People in charge of the German free school, they really admire all the work that was done around there, and they were very proud of it too. He did most of the outside work.
By the way, in the current Maldonado home,
Yes.
their home, they do have a Virgin Mary in the back as you're entering, going, I guess, into the kitchen or whatever. The back, they do have it. Frederico was the artist that did the work for them. And we were able to get pictures of that. See, Ulysses, he's the photographer that is going around taking pictures, did take pictures of the La Virgen. And there is, as you enter through the back.
Wow.
Yes.
And Lord, I just want to add, I'm sorry I'm taking too much of your time. I just want to add, as you were talking about the times and the lives that we had there in, you mentioned like the circuses were coming to town. My parents, my mother, my parents would wake us up around 2 or 3 in the morning because that's when the big circus would come into town near the railroad. And they would from there walk into the 3rd Street so that we would be able to see even all the elephants and all the other animals. They all going to Canal Street. The corner of Canal is where they were going. But through Easter,
Where's Lori going?
Just curious, was that the first home that grandmother and grandfather owned? And were all of y'all born there? Like in there in the house?
I didn't hear.
Oh, is that the first home grandma and grandpa owned?
Yes.
Yes.
And all of y'all were born in the home? Not
Yes,
Yeah,
all of them.
all of us, as far as I know, all of us were born at that place, at home, at Easter.
Thea Lizzie and Thea Lucy are not.
Do you happen to remember the year? Because they got married, of course. They moved over here. They were already married, right? In Mexico?
No. They married in San Marcos at the Catholic Church in San Marcos.
St. John the Evangelist.
St. John the Evangelist in San Marcos.
Yeah.
You remember the year that they got the house?
The year they moved into the house was 1927. The year they bought the house was 1937.
So apparently in 1927 he was renting the house. He found the house, started it there, and was renting it. And then in 1937,
1937 they bought it.
He went ahead and bought it.
Real quick, my dad was born in Buda in 1920.
Where?
Buda?
Buda.
Oh, okay. The oldest one, Dad, I think, was born in Buda.
Yes.
He was born in 1920. That was like 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, about approximately, yes. Approximately.
Again.
For those of you who are interested in getting genealogy, I must tell you about the programs that we're going to have next week. Those of you that are interested in doing research on your homes, if you live here in Austin, at the Austin History Center, we're going to have a workshop there that will teach you, they will show you how to do that, what sources to use. And for those of you that are trying to get muscles in your arms, I suggest that you go there because you're going to be using the city directories, and the city directories are big books. I know that. And then the following week on the 29th, we're going to have at the Tejano Genealogy Society of Austin, that is going to show here at the MAC in this auditorium. They're going to have a workshop also on teaching people how to do research, genealogy research. You cannot miss that. If you're interested in that, I guarantee you're going to learn something. They're well known for helping people, and I've been doing that now a lot. I've become very consumed with it. On August the 12th is the last program that we will have here, and it will be entitled On Memories of Rainy Street. And for those individuals, everyone is invited. But for those individuals that lived on Rainy Street, or who had families living on Rainy Street, we want to hear from you. We want you to attend, because this is what we're going to have a panel discussion. Dr. Jane Rivera is going to be the moderator for that panel, and we want you to attend. Why are we ending with Rainy Street? Well, in September, the MAC will be celebrating its 10th anniversary. Woo-hoo. And if we know the history of Rainy Street, and we know the history of the MAC, you have to attend the celebration. You have to attend that particular program, because we want to capture that history. We were able to get some homes, and we were also, if you look at the exhibit, there are 4 homes that were relocated from Rainy Street to Father Joseph Nata Street. And I mean, I have been very, very blessed with getting photographs from the community, and I was very, very happy to be able to make the contacts with Mark Rogers, Helen Lopez, with the Guadalupe Neighborhood Development Corporation, because they're the ones that gave me those photographs. And I have right now a notebook that I'll be putting out next week on Rainy Street. So if you don't know the history, please, it's going to be here. But do attend, because without all of this working together, the exhibit would not have been able to have been done. We could not have gotten the information that we did without the community. The community support has always been there, and we need you to continue. So, well, I guess now, let's, yes.
Well, since we have so many supporters of Austin history and so many families from Austin, I just got a reminder from the Riveras here that we have a process right now for recommending Palm School as a Mexican-American museum that would include indigenous history, so we don't forget nuestros primos who were here before us, and some of them are still, amongst us. We also would have the Folk Art Museum, and we would have an archive of local Mexican-American history and artifacts, como las cositas que están allá afuera. And so, as you go out, is that okay if they put their email address on the guest book? If you will do that on the guest book out there, I will look at today's date, and we will write you down so you can be notified of further support and meetings for Palm School. It's very, very, very important that we push this project. Thank you for reminding me.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.